A jury's been seated in the federal trial of three former Minneapolis police officers. Thomas Lane, J. Alexander King, and Tu Thao, all accused of violating George Floyd's civil rights by not helping him on the day he was killed by Derek Chauvin. They pleaded not guilty to the charges, and in just one day of selections, 18 jurors have been chosen. 12 of them will deliberate, 6 will be alternates.
Derek Chauvin was found guilty of murder and manslaughter for Floyd's murder last year.
Federal prosecution of police officers is rare. Joining us with more insight, Tony Thedford with Thedford Garber Law. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me again.
So they chose the jurors in one day, which is kind of rare, isn't it, for just one day to find the jurors. And we understand that two are of Asian descent, mostly white, and the judge told the jurors race is not a part of this case.
Right. Well, first of all, compared to the 2 weeks that it took to select the jury in Chauvin's state court case, it is certainly different that it took one day to impanel this jury. Also, the pool of jurors is different. In the state court case, again for Chauvin, and the upcoming state court case for these officers, the jury pool was pulled from Hennepin County, which is a more diverse county, obviously surrounding the largest city in Minnesota, Minneapolis. A federal jury is pulled from the entire state of Minnesota. So that jury is different in its racial composition, or the potential racial composition, because of where they come from. And I think they selected 18 jurors, 6 of which would be alternates or fill-ins if someone couldn't do their duties of the 12. Yeah.
We saw in Chauvin's trial video played such a critical role in the outcome here. What will the jury eventually be evaluating as they go through all this?
Well, what's interesting, in the Chauvin trial and in the state court trial upcoming for these officers, I think that's scheduled for June, those cases were about what those officers did. Here in the federal case for these officers, it's about what they didn't do. There was failure to intervene and failure to provide medical assistance, except for one of the officers has not been charged with the medical assistance piece because he actually commented a couple times that they should roll George Floyd on his side, or should they roll him over on his side. So the federal prosecutors did not charge him with that particular act. However, if all 3 of them are found guilty, they face significant jail time, whether it's on one of the counts or on both of them.
Derek Chauvin has pleaded guilty in his federal case.
Yes.
And the judge also telling the jurors, do not consider that in this case at all. Is that a good idea or a bad idea?
Well, not to consider George Floyd.
Guilty.
The guilty plea for Derek Chauvin.
Derek Chauvin,
well, that's fair. That's fair. In order for these officers to have a fair trial, evidence that's not admitted at trial should not be considered by the jurors. So that's fair. What is interesting, though, is this judge also mentioned that this case was not about race. And unfortunately, it is about race. It's about race specifically because this all started with a misdemeanor offense. And these misdemeanor offenses, certainly like in this case, generally officers in many cases act violently or aggressively to prosecute a simple misdemeanor offense, which is what happened with George Floyd.
A counterfeit $20 bill.
And escalated and led to his death. So yes, it's about race because stats show that minorities are the ones that are more affected by over-enforcement of misdemeanor crimes.
Do you think these other officers are going to testify, and would that be advisable from a defense standpoint?
I think it is advisable from a defense standpoint because, again, this is not about what they did, it's about what they didn't do. And in light of that, those officers need to testify, hey, I was doing this, not that. They're going to put the entire blame on Derek Chauvin, as they should, in a reasonable defense. But it's interesting that the 2 of those officers were pretty new. They were brand new, and they're going with the defense. We were just following orders.
In essence, is Derek Chauvin on trial again?
Yes, Derek Chauvin is on trial. Derek Chauvin will be the cloud hanging over these entire proceedings, and we wouldn't be here but for the actions of Derek Chauvin. So, yes, it's about Derek Chauvin.
This might be more of an organizational question, but should we read anything into the fact that they did the state trial for Chauvin before this federal plea? With these other officers, it's sort of in reverse order.
That is interesting, Ray, and I have not thought of it that way, but I think it's really a matter of timing and scheduling. You should note that the state court trial for these 3 officers charged now, or going to trial now, was actually scheduled earlier.
March.
So it was moved so that there would not be a conflict, obviously, with this trial that's taking place right now. Presumably, this could go on for several weeks, and it would have conflicted with that state court trial that was to begin in March, as you just indicated. So it gave it space. But I don't know if we should read anything into it. Certainly the timing for these officers is unfortunate because Chauvin was found guilty in the state court proceeding and can't get away from that.
The judge has instructed the attorneys, though, to make this go quickly.
Yes.
Keep it tight.
Well, they certainly picked a jury today, so apparently they're following that court's dictates relative to the speed of it. But trials always start off with an idea of how long it will take. But the trials will go the way that they go relative to the timing, and neither side should be rushed in trying to, the government in making their case and the defense in trying to defend themselves in this case.
Do you anticipate this being a difficult case to prove for the prosecution, and how do you think it's going to end up?
It is difficult to prove when the line is not so clear. It's clear what happened there, but the line in terms of whether or not their omission or failure to act, if the government can meet their burden of proof there, it's actually difficult. These cases are often brought as civil rights actions, as civil actions where there are money damages. But it's the same facts and the same circumstances with a different burden of proof for the government to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that these officers have violated the law based on what they've been indicted for.
Is there a difference having all 3 in the same trial than if they had asked for separate trials?
Yes, it is different having all 3 in trial at the same time. In federal cases, it is difficult to sever from your co-defendant. State court cases, the courts tend to be more liberal in terms of allowing that severance. Defendants typically do not want to be tried together because if one officer's less culpable than another, the culpability of another officer could be imputed to this officer who's less culpable. So there is danger for these officers, but frankly, there's nothing they can do about it in this forum.
All right, Tony Thedford and Gerber, thank you so much for joining us. Be safe, be well.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.